Good evening, everyone. I now call this continued meeting of Wednesday, February the 7th to order. We have 6 items on the agenda. We'll start off with a public hearing for the possibility of redoing or implementing a utility extension and payment agreement policy. Mr. Van Orbeck, do you want to report to council before we have public comment?
I don't think there's anything to add. I think that we discussed this one time previous, but anybody in the audience that wasn't here, the town currently provides 5 opportunities for folks to have an extension of a payment plan annually for their on their utility bills, and we've been working on that standard for some time. I think that based on some of my conversations, certainly with council, with our elected leadership at the General Assembly, I think you guys need to know tonight before this public hearing, there's a Senate and a House bill that have both passed through the State General Assembly. They have not been adopted, they have not been finalized, but they're moving their way through the General Assembly, which is gonna take local control away anyhow, and that you're gonna be obliged to provide 60 days before cutoff, and that has been passed through both houses, both chambers. In the event that is the case, then you're gonna give 2,200 connections, or however many customers that we have on our electric system. You'll be providing them with an extra 30 days before you can cut off. It's gonna be a very difficult financial situation if you have to make VEMA bills, because Dominion is not obliged to only bill us after 60 days. And as you know, and people see it in their bills, the rates have gone up dramatically, and those are just passed on. We have not raised the rates to ingratiate ourselves, to put more money in our pocket. It's only been to pay Dominion Power for primarily green energy initiatives that the General Assembly has mandated the State Corporation Commission to work with Dominion Power on. So at the end of the day, right now it's 5. I think it'll all be a moot point shortly, because I think the state's gonna mandate that you give everybody, every month, permanently, an extra 30 days to pay the rent. So, if that's the case, then we've got bigger fish to fry than this to worry with, because can't afford it. And I don't think the delegates and senators that either voted for it or proposed the bills check with municipal utilities. We're a little different. We're not Dominion. We're not a $1 billion company. We're not even Southside Electric. We're a multi-million-dollar company. Our total electric is about $4.5 million. And that's what we do. We have some monies on reserve, but the monies that we have on reserve in just 2 months would be gone if we had to pay it right now.
Members of council, do you have any questions for the manager?
Has there been any reports from the group that we're a part of on the status?
On VEMA? Yeah, I do have a brief report from our lobbyist, legislative analyst that works for us. He has provided some things to us, and I'm parroting what he sent to me. I can make copies for everybody. It's not a huge amount of detail, but they have both passed through the House and Senate, and it does require 60 days prior to cutoff. And the only question I have is that 30 days additional. We already give 45 days. We increased by 15 days some time ago, and so we now do 45 days. Does that mean another 30 days on top of that? I would have to check, but certainly no less than 60 days. It would be another 2 weeks. It's just, for a small community, it's pretty reckless.
So it's of his professional opinion that there aren't going to be any hiccups that this is going through.
My expectation to this point is that it's going to pass. So, you may want to. I certainly would recommend not doing anything tonight and waiting to see what the General Assembly. The session should be over. Have a veto session and same kind of schedule every year. But as a result, certainly take the comments from anybody that bothered to come tonight. Have those. We'll have those recorded and memorialized. But doing anything would be premature based on the state may mandate you give everybody 12 a year. Okay. And these would be unnecessary. So I would just wait and see what happens with the General Assembly before you vote on anything tonight, because the town of Blackstone is going to have a different financial outlook on the General Assembly.
Well, based on your testimony here and the possibility of House Bill 906 passing, After we hear from the public, I'm gonna refer this issue to the, Health and Ordinance Committee. Before I open the public session, I left back in the back, there's a public comment policy that was passed February 27th, 2017. And I'm gonna adhere to that tonight. We welcome everyone to come up and speak. You have 3 minutes to do so. And at this time, I'm gonna open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to come and speak for the policy that council is debating about utility extension and payment agreement policy? Anybody would like to come and speak for this? Hearing none, seeing none, then I'll ask anybody would like to come forward and speak against the town's utility extension and payment agreement policy. If you'd like to come to the podium now. Yes, ma'am? It's good to see you this evening, and if you will, come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Martha Lee. I live at 604 Northwest Avenue. And I really do have a problem. I'm a single senior citizen. I live alone. And my Social Security check barely takes care of my business, of what I have to do. But I cannot afford a $600 light bill. It jumps from $400 to $600. I cannot afford that. And I know there's a lot of other people in here is the same. Our light bill keep going up. Social services give us a few dollars. They gave me $495 last month. They took the whole $400. And I didn't have anything left over to try to go for this month to help me out. Now I got to scrape up this light bill myself. And I was wondering, they had the thing for solar lights to come in. And, you know, that might would help some of us seniors. There's a lot of us seniors in here that's on a fixed income. Widowed and everything. Nobody helping them with no bills but them. The light bill is taking our little check. We can't hardly buy food or nothing else. Myself, I'm handicapped, and you know, I stays in the doctor's office and everything trying to keep me going. I'm 75 years old. And $1,100 a month with a $600 light bill, where do that carry me to? And I mean, Nottoway tried to help us, but the light bill keep going up and they keep taking it from us. As fast as Nottoway give us this little check last month, it's gone for to help us this month. You know, this is how I feel. I don't know how the rest of the people feel in here, but I just can't stand it. And I have this, what, $814, $647, and $441. It doubles every month. It doubles. And we can't afford that. We need something to go along with that. This is all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Members of council, does anyone have any questions for Ms. Lee? Anyone else like to come and speak?
I don't know why I'm gonna keep doubling.
Ma'am? I'm hard of hearing, I'm sorry. Name and address for the record, please.
My name's Claudia Kelly. I live at 104 North Amelia Avenue. My light bill in December was $240-something. The 1st of January, I got one for $540. February, I got one for $600. I don't. My heat is on. Well, last time I came up here, I got my heat on 60. I think it's 68. I don't touch it. I don't mess with it. When the cold nights, I didn't even stay in my house. I stayed at my son's house because I couldn't afford to keep turning it up to keep warm. So what am I supposed to do? I can't afford a $600 light bill. In January was $540. This month is $600. I can't afford for it to jump like that. So what are we supposed to do? Now my house, the town of Blackstone winterized my house about 6 years ago. Still house still cold. So what am I supposed to do?
I understand your concerns. Thank you.
Philip, when did the true ups that we have that Dominion passes on to us, when did they go into effect?
Goodness gracious.
It's been a few months, right? It wouldn't have been
It
recently.
was only the first few months of the fiscal year. Yeah, I think we've got that cleaned up the first 3 months of our fiscal year. And, so we had to pay into true-up, but now we're collecting true-up. So that's a portion of it. I don't think it's a dramatic portion, but it is a portion of it. Dominion Power said they undercharged you last year. And so
How did they undercharge me when it came up at the end of that, when was that budget billing? At the end of it, I came up with a $900-some bill.
Dominion Power said they didn't charge enough last year.
Not
So
you, the
they're
town.
entitled, because of our General Assembly and the State Corporation Commission, they're entitled to request, and the contract that they have with the VEMA Group, which is our buying group for power, they came back and said they undercharged based on their retirement of coal-fired plants and green initiatives, which are extremely expensive. When you hear solar panel or windmill, you're paying for it right there, okay? And that is a fact. End result is, they said they undercharged last year, and so they increased our bill for 3 months. We give you 12 months to pay it, but the bill we paid for the first 3 months of the fiscal year was dramatically larger.
So will mine be?
Well, you're paying it over 12 months, the town had to pay it in 3 months.
Philip, how much of her bill would be attributed to the true-up? You said it was a small amount,
It's on the bill.
I'd have to
It's
sit
the
there and-
last item on there.
average.
I think my house.
It's like
was
30 bucks, right?
Mine was $90-some this month or something. That was
It'll be
crazy.
factored in that, section on your bill, which is new, which is power cost adjustment, but that also includes,
Well, what is the power adjustment?
pardon?
What is the power adjustment?
It's what
Power
Dominion-
adjustment clause is true up. It's got the purchase power from, Philpott, SEPA, buy a portion of our power. And there's a thermite on them.
Because one month mine was,
It's all pass-through stuff.
We're not, the
It's
town
not-
isn't making any more money.
The
on
fuel
that.
adjustment.
make it
also
clear.
got it.
It's
Not on that
pass-through.
charge.
We buy our power from Dominion. and
well,
then
why
we
would mine,
resell it.
well, all right, and you all buy it from Dominion, resell it to us.
That's right.
So in other words, when we put to jump from $6 one month to 85 the next month, so that means I'm paying a big portion of it. Then the next month is 95.
Everybody's paying their share, but since I've been the town manager, 13 years, it's been that long. In 13 years, we haven't raised electric rates except for that which Dominion has raised our rates. We haven't raised the
So in
rates
other
about
words,
public
I'm
trucks
paying
and
for, when y'all hang up the Christmas lights and stuff, I don't put up Christmas lights.
use LED.
No,
But
she's
you're not
asking,
paying for
No,
it.
no, you're not.
she's not, she's asking if it's being passed on to the consumer. No, that is not being,
If we buy power from Dominion for $5 and then we
And sell it to us for 10.
We buy it for $5 and we
Sell it to
you
us for
$6.
10. No, that's the way it is.
All right. Anyone else like to come speak? Yes, ma'am. Please.
I'm expecting no pictures.
I need, name,
Yeah, right.
need, name and address. for the-
My
for
name
the
is Doris Wynn. I'm at 304 College Avenue, Blackstone, here in town. And I know what she's talking about. Some of you know know the size of the house I live in, and I heat 4, maybe 5 rooms, and the rest of them I don't. And fortunately, I was able to do some electrical work years ago that enabled me to do that, and to use certain types of heat that I would not be able to use otherwise. And I don't know how many people would be able to do that. But before I get into that, I just have to say that I have had nothing but wonderful experiences with all departments of this town. And Philip, you're responsible for that.
They're responsible.
And y'all are responsible
don't
for
blow
that.
his head
I'm
up.
sorry. I'm sorry, but I have to say it from the garbage men and women. Maybe I don't know. To electrical, every single person I have dealt with has been just wonderful. Every department, and I had to say that. And Loyette can tell you that I don't lie.
We go back a long way.
Anyway, I don't know what can be done, but if there's anything, any people who could be pulled in from other places to consult to help people do what they need to do to be able to pay their bills. I have a feeling some of the people who can't pay them are actually working for the town. I don't know that that's true, but I think that's possible. And I believe I was brought up in a big family. 7 was big. 6 survived infancy. My mother milked 17 cows by hand for a couple of years, and that was her me time. One of my sisters-in-law told me that. So anyway, I know what it's like to have to work together with people, and I had to work together with wonderful teachers and principals and school boards before, and I believe in giving credit when it's due, and I would do anything I can do. If you need me to do anything to help people get a leg up and keep it there, because I really believe, and I was brought up to believe in respecting people who work for a living, no matter what level they are on. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Ms. Williams. Anyone else like to come speak?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I live at 902 Fall Street, Blackstone, Virginia.
State your name for the record.
Annie Henderson. Oh,
I appreciate it, Annie.
Annie Henderson.
Thank you so much.
I come because I got telephone calls talking about the extension to report down here for the extension, and I'm asking, and I'm here to ask to continue to have the extension on the light bills and stuff, because people are really, really going through changes through it. I just became a senior citizen, I say about 2 or 3 years ago. And yes, I complain about my light bill, but I don't make an issue of it. I put it in his hand. But I'm here to ask to continue to make the extension and continue to have the extension. That's what the dialogue is about, so that's what I want.
Thank you so much, Annie.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Anyone else like to come speak? Hearing none, see, Mr. Clark? Just got up under the wire here, sir. How you doing, Mr. Clark? If you will.
How y'all doing?
If you will, Mr. Clark.
Happy Black History, everybody. My name is William Clark. I live at 420 Sullivan Street. My biggest complaint, like the young lady here said, is I don't complain. I lived there since I was 14. I have no gripe on the service. I don't have no gripe on none of that. But I have big issue when it comes to the rate of the light bill. I swear to God, I know we got y'all smart people. I know we can get together, this panel can get together and figure out a way to counter, because I know we got to pay for our light bill. I understand this, but I know we can get together and the people's here, somebody will come up with a good idea that we can add money to the town to pay Dominion, some kind of fundraiser, anything, so we can get the weight off the peoples a little bit. I mean, I don't know what it be. Y'all, I mean, I don't know, but to get something, just sit down and talk about it. Because I, for one, the only reason I've been making it because I sell a couple of paintings every once in a while. If it wasn't for that, I'd be catching the devil. Because when I was, when my career first started before the system got bad, I would pay people light bill. I paid, but I ain't gonna brag or nothing like that, but I would pay. But right now, it's rough on me. And I'm thinking about what, 40–50% of the peoples here are seniors and citizens, and the ones now with other than the people over at Fort Barfoot, I think I'm saying it right, the regular people's working here, they can't even afford to pay the light bill. They got to work 2 or 3 jobs. I mean, I ain't mad with nobody, but we as a town, we got to do something, because it's bad when people, I've been there, had my lights cut off. I ain't ashamed to admit it. That's a terrible feeling. I've had my lights turned over, and God been good to me and blessed me to be able to keep mine on. But as citizen of Blackstone, Virginia, a small town of about 4,000 people or more, we supposed to be morally close to knit. We supposed to be concerned about when our brothers and sisters' lights are off. Y'all say I get emotional, I'm an emotional person. I don't care who you are. I couldn't stand this. If I see people in the strain doing anything, black or white, I'm going to help them. And that's what we need to do more of. And I ain't lecturing nobody, nothing, all this old bickering. We need to get, this is a small community. Everybody in here just about know everybody. I mean, and I know I got a sharp tongue on Facebook, whatever, but I be respectable. I got a sharp tongue, but I was taught to speak my mind. But we could do something like a festival, and all time. And the thing about it, if you do it right, you never have to leave your office. But all the money go toward one thing, the light bill, and you pay it, and then that lighting the people's bill here. Y'all got my seat, by the way, man. No, y'all. But seriously, though, that was messed up. I'm sorry, bro. On Black History Month doing that, I'm sorry. But seriously, though, okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Michelle Duncan, 207 Bird Road. I know some of y'all might be a little confused with why I'm up here, being that you did receive a letter from me. I didn't know it was being sent, and I never received your letter, so I don't know what happened. I never received your email back.
I'm not the most technical guy.
But that's
so
okay.
I'll try again tomorrow. Thanks for telling me.
No, that's, well, I actually received a copy of it because I had reached out to one of the council members and asked them, about times to make sure that I was here. But getting quickly to the point, I'm just going to some of this read, some of it not. So I went back and I listened to the YouTube, the live feed. My first thought when I listened to it was having two different dates, different quantities of dates. It can be confusing, it can be cumbersome, and so I understand that. It definitely can be. But then as I listened, it transformed and it morphed from condensing dates to now we're trying to restrict the support services that have been provided to the people. I don't understand how that happened. How we went from here to here. But regardless, I've read many options for the proposed extension payment plans, however you want to call it. And as I expressed in my email, it concerns me to hear that as a town, we cannot operate with missing approximately 3% of our income. And that's what you equate out to, at least my numbers did, that if you take houses that are served and how many are actually utilizing these support services, it's about 3% of your income, less than 3% of your income. And if we can't balance our bills on less of 3% of income, then we have a problem. Somewheres we have a problem. This town is made up primarily of individuals who live hand to mouth. This town already supports itself on the working class. Why would anyone want to take away from those who provide the very most support to this town? I don't want to move. I want my friends to live here. I want my families to live here, and I love my community. I do want a compassionate council, and I want a council that can hold itself accountable for the finances while being supportive to the citizens. So I understand bills have to be paid. We have to pay our bills. You have to pay yours. I'm going to shorten this up because y'all did receive most of it, but one of the thoughts that I had was that I heard that there's a $500 minimum, okay? That bothers me because that $500 minimum is really too high, and I know I've heard several people speak of, $400, $500, $600, $900 bills. But if you think about it, a lot of your bills are going to be smaller, right? Because we live in a more impoverished community, so thus you have smaller houses, for thus you have less square footage, and thus you're going to have less heating. And if we're looking at having that minimum at $500, we're really limiting people as far as who can and who cannot receive services. And I'm going to get a little personal here. My income for this month has been cut by half due to no fault of my own, but it is what it is. My bill, while it was extremely low, especially compared to a lot of people, was only $400 and some. Now you take my half income, you take my increased bill, I don't qualify for help. If I needed help, sorry, you don't get it. So that $500 minimum needs to go. I'm not sure how you're going to manipulate things, how you're going to handle things, but it needs to be reachable for anybody who needs help for any reason that they need help.
I'm gonna give you plenty of time. Can I respond to that?
Yes.
The $500 figure came up with a very brief discussion between council, and I don't think that's etched in stone. And like I said, after we hear from everybody, I'm gonna send this back. And, you know, we had a little bit of back and forth. I agree with you, but I don't think that's etched in stone. Take all the time you want. I just
Well,
wanna let you know.
for the most part, I appreciate that, but I'm done. But just, you know, I had, in the email, I expressed, something along the lines of, if you find yourself like myself in that position, if I came in and I paid at least half of what I owe, right? And then if I could split the rest out over 2 to 3 months. And then while mine would be a one-time thing, at least then it wouldn't be so cumbersome. And then if you do the 15-day extension, okay, well, first I received a fee for having a 15-day extension. That's more money I got to pay. And then on top of that, I still have to come up with the full amount. I've lost half my income, and I still have to come up with the full amount. I have a few more days, but 15 days is not going to solve my problem. I would need at least a month to 2 months in order to balance myself out. So basically, in the end, I just ask that think about the little people, because that is who is carrying the weight of the light bill. It's not going to be a lot of your bigger industries and those who have the cash flow to, oh, I have a light bill, and they just whip out a check. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else would like to come and speak? Please do. Hello.
My name is Kim Lax, and I live at 303 5th Street.
How you doing, Ms. Lack?
I'd heard in the video that about a payment plan if your light bill rose over 100%. My thoughts on that is, for December, my light bill was $490-some, and January was $747. That's not 100%, but it's still $250 increase. So I could pay it, thank God, but if I couldn't, I wouldn't qualify for help under the 100% increase. Yeah. So I would ask that it be looked at.
That's a great point. It's a great point.
Because
but just like I said, I'll make sure you get plenty of time.
And also,
that was a quick discussion, and the intentions, in my opinion, were nothing but helpful.
Right.
Trying to figure out a way how we can pay this monstrous $400,000 bill we have to pay, and try to help the people. But the input here tonight is well received, and it'll help us make the right decision.
And I appreciate that, because I've heard single mothers and people talk about they have to decide to pay the light bill or buy food for their kids, and it's really sad these days. But thank y'all for listening.
Thank you so much. Anyone else like to speak? At this time, I'm gonna.
I'd like to speak.
Help yourself, ma'am. Help yourself.
Hi, I'm Sarah Allen from Crew, Virginia.
It's good to see you, Miss Allen. How are you?
Hey, Mr. Clark. Happy Black History Month. So I came to talk to y'all about the plan that y'all were considering, and I want to bring facts that I've gotten from government websites pertaining particularly to Blackstone, Virginia. So first of all, electricity, energy is very, we need it. You need it to cook, you need it to heat, you need to boil water, you need it for daily living. And when the World Health Organization says that when you don't have it, it becomes a public health issue. So here's some statistics that I got from the census. Blackstone alone, 22% has a 22% poverty rate. And out of that 22%, 17% of the people in poverty are over the age of 65. And 33% of the people in poverty are under the age of 18. So they're children. And then on another government website, it says that Blackstone Primary, I think it's School Initiative or School Equality, Blackstone Primary last year, they had a 30% rate of children considered to be chronically absent. So imagine waking up in the morning, you ain't got no heat, no water, and somebody expects you to go to school. So imagine how that number will increase. A lot of people said, this young lady, she touched on a lot, Miss Lax. When your energy bills get high, you have to, especially when you're already tight on money, and let me make it clear, these people are not just sitting at home doing nothing. Most of these people work more than one job. You have to make a decision between food, heating, medicine, and it's not a good look. Especially when you're close to the federal poverty line. Ms. Duncan said 3%, but when you're close to the federal poverty line, you're actually spending about 10% of your income on energy alone.
I think if you don't mind, you read.
No, I don't mind. Go right
I
ahead.
think Ms. Duncan, correct me if I'm wrong, is speaking of 3% of the people are utilizing the payment plan.
Less than slightly less than 3% are utilizing the support services that Town of Blackstone currently has in place.
Okay, so it's obviously a need, and it's if only 3% are using it, I don't see the need to decrease it because it's not hindering Blackstone in any way. And we have money Blackstone have money to do other things with. I'm not going to name anything, but Blackstone has money to do other things with to improve other people's incomes. Right. But we're going to take money and we're going to make it difficult for people to pay a bill that they want to pay. Nobody wants to go without electricity. So it's not something that we need to look at and say it's not an important issue. It is a very important issue. And one last thing I want to say. Just want to find it. When you don't have electricity, it affects your health. We have people on oxygen, and we have people on other things that require electricity. And when it is said that let them move, don't you know utility bills follow you? So just because you leave out of Blackstone and you go to Prince Edward, it does not mean that you get to have a whole fresh utility bill. Sometimes you can't even get electricity till you pay the other one. So when you tell people to let them move, essentially what you're saying is be homeless. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to come speak? All right, at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to refer this policy and the vital input that we had from the public to the Health and Ordinance Committee. The next item on the agenda tonight is the LCCDC building, Spring Hill walkthrough. Mr. Van Orbeck, if you'd like to report.
Some time ago, I met with members of Spring Hill Baptist Church and their outreach group who had interest in taking a look at the building. And we did some measuring, and it's approximately 3,364 square feet at the LCCDC building. We have had that tour of the building today at 11 o'clock, I think. Mr. Miller and the mayor and I met with those same folks from Spring Hill, and I think the pastor intends to come to the February 25th council meeting and make a presentation about what their intentions are, type of programming that they're interested in, things that they'd like to participate in, and what supports can the town provide. At that time, I did recommend to them to base it on a lease rather than a transfer of property because of funding resources that may be made available. Also recommended that the mayor appoint it to Ms. Williams' committee at the Building and Grounds Committee to look at the proposal further. And at that time, I'd also like to, because I think there's some significant improvements that need to be, if you want to see a highlight bill, that's a highlight bill because the windows are just drafty and no insulation in the building and all those kind of things. And there's some appreciable improvements that need to be made before the building's really usable. I would like to take a look at the building and have an architect give me a cost estimate so we can use that as a basis. I think we wait till the 25th when the pastor comes. We're in no hurry, but take a look at the building and see what those costs are and what are the things that are being asked for going to cost the town, and let you have an eyes wide open decision-making process, what they'd like to do.
Any questions for the manager? At this time,
I also attended that meeting, and this could be a positive thing for Blackstone. If it all comes down together, what was discussed today, it's a tie-in with the youth and everybody else in this building, and there was a couple ideas discussed. So I'm asking everybody to just hold tight, and like they say, when they come up here the 25th, and you want to hear what they talking about, come up here. But it's one of the best programs for Blackstone I have seen. And like I said, a few things that were discussed today, never been heard of in Blackstone. So I think if we get a good working relationship with Spring Hill, I think we're on to something.
Members of council, any more comments or questions? I'm gonna refer the LCC DC building and Spring Hill's request to Chair Lady Williams and her Building and Grounds Committee.
Well, I'm sorry, Mayor, will that wait until after they talk to us on the?
I'll leave that to Chair Lady Williams when she when she wants to meet, okay? And, we'll have a nice chat until you guys meet, okay? Item number 3 on the agenda tonight is a Spring Festival banner request. Members of council, you have before you a banner application from Chris Page doing business as Bright Lights Entertainment. Did you want to weigh in, Mr. Manager?
No, I think there's also a letter attached, your consideration from Attorney Thomas Robertson Associates on behalf of Mr. Page in regard to, I guess Mr. Page's position and his attorney's position, about, infringement of civil rights, personal rights and that. That is attached to your consideration. And, an application for a banner to be placed across, Main Street.
Members of council, what's your pleasure?
I would say until, this legal matter can be reviewed by an attorney, I think the safest option would be to halt all banner hangings until we, get an opinion and a policy review.
Are you making a motion, sir?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Allman, I'll make sure I'm correct here. Mr. Allman has moved that until we seek legal counsel, that we halt issuing banner permits. Is that correct? Is there a second? Mr. Nash is second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I got a question. So we're saying that we're doing all this, so that means no banners of any type will be held.
I believe that's the motion.
It's
We
the
need to
motion.
treat everybody the same, so.
Okay.
And, because we just received this today, I think it would be,
I would argue that that goes against our ordinance. We have an ordinance that allows people to apply, and if you're gonna predetermine their application in advance, it's based on halting it. That may violate their rights. Number 2, it doesn't change the fact of the denial that we already had from the last request I put in, which I've asked you to address and then go ahead and approve, in the letter the attorney did. And I'm speaking on behalf of Bright Lights Entertainment right now. So, I understand moving forward, you possibly putting a pause till your attorneys review it, but, there is an ordinance that are geared towards certain organizations that allow them, and it is in the books. So to predetermine their request based on this one would be,
well, this legal, this, letter from your attorney just goes into content neutral versus not, and I think probably the most content neutral thing we can do is halt banners of all sorts until we get it sorted out. It's pretty content neutral. Seems like the right thing to do so we don't, make the wrong decision.
Any other comments?
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just reading the letter that's due to me because I was busy at work today. I really don't understand the nature of this letter, and I don't need to understand that because from our last meeting, we gave you permission to have the festival because we said it was gonna be a good project. for the whole town. The only thing that we asked for you was remove the sponsors' names. So I don't understand this whole letter.
Right, the
And
letter explains why, and I told you guys, I believe the removal of the logos, we believe are unconstitutional. It's a content-based restriction. The attorney sent you a letter. You guys can do what you want on there, but, if you're gonna suspend an ordinance that's active, and you still have active C-Park regulations that I believe are covered in this letter as well, that would affect future events.
Yeah, I mean, we've already agreed that we're discussing the ordinance in the park, and that we believe that they needed review, that they could be outdated, which is why we're discussing it in the health and ordinance meeting tomorrow. But as for the banner portion of this, going into content-based restriction versus content neutral, I mean, it's very content neutral to just say, let's halt banners of all sorts until an attorney can either craft or review this, or review our current ordinances to make sure that we're on the right track.
I think it's
I
properly
don't wanna treat
reviewed.
any banners differently because one's commercial versus one's not. I think the safest bet is to just say no banners at this time until further notice, which I recognize that puts a burden on some of the not-for-profit agencies in town that like to use the banners to go for their events, but at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we protect the tax money and we protect our town from litigation, and we make the legal and right decisions, especially when it comes to the First Amendment. So I think a legal review is the proper thing to do.
I would just say to that, I tried to tell you that the denial over that particular reason put the town at liability before you did it. We didn't care about protecting tax money and liability at that time, but that's fine.
Well, the reason the decision was made on the last time is because we are not the only small town in Virginia, or even large town in Virginia, or even out of hundreds of towns in the country that have a very similar banner request process that declines banners that have commercial activity on them, just so we can keep it for the not-for-profits and things that are really, as I've been told, the more apple pie events of town. When we start allowing commercial activity, there can be a lot of other things that go on that banner that might not be what citizens want or what's appropriate. And I don't want to deny anybody because of that, so if we need to send it to legal to make sure that we're making the right decision, I think that's the smart thing, and I'm glad that this letter outlined that. Thank you.
Do you have any comments?
No.
Any other members of council have comments? I ask, so the motion is, Mr. Almond moves, Mr. Nash second, to suspend all banner applications and, until, we can have legal look into the letter provided by Mr. Page.
The letter provided by Mr. Page and our current policy.
Which hopefully won't be long till we have an attorney. We don't currently have one,
Correct.
so.
I'm gonna ask for, voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
That motion carries 5-0-1. Next item on the agenda is residential water leaks on Fall Street.
Catch-22 here, we got a property on Fall Street where there's been a dramatic water leak, and we've had to turn it off because it's in the hundreds of thousands of gallons. It's on the private side. Property owners either are unable or unwilling to fix the water line, and so they're off. And we got a group of folks,
They're in the house?
they're in the house,
Is that,
no water and sewer. It's not permissible by town code. But I don't know if they're able to afford to get their water line fixed, or if they have the inclination to get the water line fixed. But I think there are some other questions that are on here as far as setting up payment plans. It's over $2,000 of water. We know with a private water leak, they've chosen not to fix it, and we can't just let it run out on the ground continuously. I think there was a question where they were interested in maybe a payment plan of some sort, and if council's agreeable, we'll do that. But the fact remains, we can't cut them back on until the water line's fixed.
Thank you.
You know?
what, do the water go in the sewer or?
No, it ran on the ground.
So
the
obviously.
the sewer would be waived.
Waive the sewage fees,
That's
so that will cut the bill in half, correct?
I don't know if that 2,000 already takes that into
Does that already
calculation.
take that into account or not? So
It would cut it in half.
automatically it would reduce it down to 1,000, so.
Do we have a copy of the bill?
In my opinion, we do it as with everyone else, it's a payment plan.
Doing the
But
payment
I
plan. But I-
agree that until, for the good of us and them,
Mm-hmm.
until it's fixed, it's not good to let the water continue to run and increase the bill for them.
How bad's the leak? I mean, like, to fix, how bad's the fix?
How about what?
I mean, have we, how difficult is it to fix the problem?
Very simple.
Is it a simple problem? Is it something that we could possibly do and bill her over a period of time for?
Council tells me to do it. The problem is, if we do it through our weatherization programs, which are based on electric rates that we contribute back to work on homes, then she has to pay it back. If we use weatherization funds, there's a amortized payment and all that sort of thing, and a 5-year, I think, deed of trust that goes along with the property. I think it's a lot of work in order to just get something fixed. I think, obviously, there may be some assistance. I don't know if the family knows that they can apply for assistance from the social services folks or anything like that. I don't know if they have that kind of knowledge. So, if you're proposing that we fix it, if there's a vote in the affirmative, we can fix it.
Do you have like an estimated cost? You said it's a simple fix. Do you have an
I don't
estimated?
think it's any big deal.
Wouldn't be a big deal.
I don't think so. But
What kind of a leak
as
was
with
it?
ditches and other things, if you're gonna do that, we're gonna fix them all.
What kind of a leak was it? Was it one from aging of pipes or whatever, frozen over the
I don't know.
whole
It may have been
season?
frozen pipes, but I don't know if that's the case. I would guess it'd be more of a fitting or something like that. It's not a terribly old water lines. We renovated the house on a CDBG grant program back in the mid-90s. So the utilities shouldn't be terribly old. No more than mid-90s, maybe 30 years old. And it should have been used, back then Larry was still an advocate of using copper line. We've gone to Endotrace, which is a PVC product now. But I would say at a minimum, it's not a galvanized line, which is some of the old product, lead and galvanized. So that house was renovated probably in 1995.
What's the sewer portion of the?
949.78 on one, 255.55 on the other.
That's about right,
What do we typically do, Brittany, with, length of?
Thank you, ma'am.
plans? What do we do, length of payment plans typically on items such as this?
We've been bringing them to you guys, and you've been doing them over a series of months.
Ashley also wanted to bring up that someone, we can't say who because we don't know for sure, turned the water meter back on and used another 50,000 gallons in the meantime, after we cut it off.
Is it the same property? Yeah, pretty standard. So we put a lock on the meter.
Yeah. I move that we waive the sewer portion of the January bill, whatever dollar amount that is, I didn't see the bill, and then provide 3 months payment option, but water not be turned on until, and I think it should be held on the private side, and I'll reach out to some people to see what we can, I don't think the town should get involved in fixing a pipe on a private property.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything.
Afraid not. I got a motion on the floor. Yeah, hold on just a second. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Nash has moved and Mr. Almond second. Any discussion?
Yeah, so waive the sewer on both bills, the 9, whatever,
Whenever there was a
Already
leak,
have. We've taken care of it.
on both bills.
Just need the water portion of it.
Yeah.
From you guys. The sewer is automatic, Chris, so you know that, when it doesn't go down the sewer, when you have a leak, if it leaks in your yard, under your
Yeah.
house, that, we automatically.
It's automatic. And then you said for it not to be back on until it's fully paid or just
no,
fixed?
until it's
Until
fixed.
it's fixed.
Yeah, because obviously it's just gonna cause a burden on the homeowner.
So the last 50,000 they used will go through the March bill.
Yeah.
So we'll have to adjust all the way up to the March bill.
It sounds like it, yeah. And there is a lock on it now?
We just locked it.
Okay.
Are there children in the home?
Are they what?
Children in the home.
I don't know the answer to that.
Ms. Williams?
I have a question. She's in my ward, I don't know Mrs. Lester, but I'm gonna try to reach out to her. What I recommend is she get a, hire a plumber and see what the cost is gonna be, and see what's in, in details and all of that. And then maybe we can reach out to the community. Reverend Farad, they always do, programs for people. And that way she can get her utility fixed and cut back on. So that's what I recommend. I'm gonna reach out to her, ask her to get a plumber, see what the cost to do the repairs, and then she'll know what we're working with versus not fixing it at all.
Correct.
Think-
Yeah, that's kind of.
Let her do
Let
it,
me know.
but I'm gonna talk to her
Yeah.
and I can kind of assist her in what I'm talking about.
Mr. Nash is putting his best foot forward here, so keep him in the loop, okay? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Because she needs that back on.
My only concern is I got a call from a customer this week who was on a payment plan. And they didn't realize that when you go on a payment plan, the 3-month thing, when we work with them, so normally a customer's bill is due on the 30th, and if it's not paid by a certain date, you get a late fee. And then if it's not paid by the 15th, you go on the cutoff list, and the 16th you shut off. So apparently these payment plans require the people to pay their current bill plus the payment agreement from the monthly payment by the end of the month. They don't get a chance to be late or pay those extra fees, so they're getting cut off on the 30th or the 1st. So if they have a high bill like this and they already can't afford it, I'm just concerned that we're.
Well, that's my concern. The extensions, the number of extensions don't ever concern me as much as going back to what we first had the public hearing about is at what point does anyone ever catch up?
Right, but just because you're on a payment plan doesn't mean you shouldn't have the same opportunity as everybody else. I mean, we did collect $28,000 in late fees last year, so I mean, it's not like we're not making money off people paying late.
My thing with this payment, with this extensions that you hollering about, and people have came up and said this. They're sorry that they get into them because due to the fact that you got to catch up, you got to do what you agreed to do on the payment plan, and then you got to come up and pay your current light bill. Okay, so if it ends, you couldn't afford $200. This is my thing about it. If you can't afford $200, then this next month you paying up your back pay, whatever you set up, and then you're paying your current bill. How can you ever get out? And then if you keep on extending it out, how can you ever come ahead? That's my gripe to it.
But that's
I don't care about
Hold
the
on,
extensions.
I'll get you, Mr.
I do not care about the extensions because I know that sometimes you need an extension. But my whole thing about this is you're steady going further and further and further in debt. And then when you come up here, you might have missed a payment, and then they show it to you, and then you get all upset. So that's my only gripe to it. The thing I see about this payment plan, if you need it, yes. But don't abuse it. Because you are not only abusing yourself, you're abusing the town, but you're hurting yourself. And if you sit down and listen and figure out what I'm saying, you'll see what I'm saying. Because if you paying $100 back pay, your light bill is $200. We all know in December, you got a nice little light bill. You got to come right back, pay that heavy light bill and this. The payment plan can hurt you.
Mr. Page.
And I agree with the payment plan where we do it over 3 months whenever we've helped somebody, because right now we don't really have a 3-month payment plan unless we've helped somebody, but the extensions are generally for because most people's rent is due on the 1st, and maybe their pay dates don't line up with having to get it paid by the 15th. So they generally come in and get like a 10-day extension, and it gets into their next payday and they pay it. So those are important for people, but the payment plan, I do believe, over the 3 months where they have to pay a back payment plus their current bill, and they've got to pay it 15 days earlier than everybody. I think that it can be that's a problem. I think we're hurting people more than we're helping people. And I agree with you, Mr. Mill.
We're getting off of.
But I'm
we've got a
afraid this
motion
is
and
going to
a
happen
second.
with this customer, with this amount of the bill.
Well, we
That's
have a
what I'm
motion
saying.
and a second, and discuss that, we're getting into the payment plan thing. So is there any more discussion about the motion to, I believe your motion was to waive the sewer fees, although we weren't in a 3-month payment plan. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Nash has moved, Mr. Almond's properly second to waive the sewer fee and to have a 3-month payment plan. I'll ask for a voice vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I beg your pardon?
I said aye.
Aye. I'll ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Miller.
Aye. Wait a minute, hold, what did we vote?
I'm not sure what the vote was, and I'm asking for a roll call vote. Aye, is that correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Nash, a roll call vote.
Sorry.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Clarity, Mr. Miller, clarity. And apparently levity, as the former mayor would say. Meals tax collection process, Mr. Manager.
We're gonna ask the treasurer to assist with, discussing some of the procedural guidelines that our, attorneys, with tax, that assist us with collections have recommended. We've discussed this in the past, we've discussed it privately. I think the council has, taken some steps towards, putting some deadlines on when criminal charges shall be taken out. And, we wanna advise you, what our attorneys are actually recommending.
You have the floor.
Okay.
Might have to move the mic down a little bit.
Thanks. Okay, so after the 90 days of delinquency for a meals tax account, a notice is sent to the taxpayer, letting them know they are personally responsible for the debt owed. They then have 10 days to respond. If they don't respond, another notice will be sent stating they have been assessed, which means that we tell them how much they owe. At that point, tax will take the account, and then they will just continue to collect on them from that point forward.
And when you say notice is sent, that's certified?
Certified and regular mail. Yep. But they did inform me that they will not take on an account unless it's 90 days delinquent.
And the last one we sent to them is?
Request in here from, are you requesting that we adjust our policy to 90 days or?
Well, the original meeting we had, you guys said, just send them to tax immediately, send them to tax, but tax said they're,
Won't take it until the 90.
right, they have to be 3 months delinquent before they'll take it.
Mr. Page has the floor.
The last one we sent was 3 months behind, right? So they're taking that
Yes,
account?
they have one account right now that's 90 days delinquent.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're not,
Go ahead, Ms. Page.
you're not really asking us for anything except for it to go to tax after 90 days?
Right, I can
Tax,
collect on it myself. I can pretty much do anything tax would do up to that point, but once it's 90 days delinquent, then tax can assist with the collections.
But I think this plays more into the intention from some on council that we file criminal charges at a certain point and a certain deadline. And I think this 90 days does not permit us to file those criminal charges as quickly as some would like. Okay? So, we're gonna follow the process. We need to follow the process. Let them do it. And, if they fail to live up to their obligations as designated by the judge, then we will bring criminal charges. We'll speak to council about it. We'll let them know.
Can you adjust our policy to reflect this?
Yeah, I can do that.
Can you get it to me by tomorrow's meeting?
All right, Mr. Manager, if you help me out here, do you, Mr. Allman has asked for some information for his Health and Ordinance Committee tomorrow. Do you need any action out of council, or do we wanna wait, come back from the committee as a recommendation on the 25th, is that correct? 25th? 26th. Is that agreeable?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that agreeable
Don't
to
do
council,
anything. I mean,
common consent?
Is there a way that we can maybe have our treasurer speak to the treasurer, I don't know, Prince Edward, and see what their position is? I think tax has an interest in holding off. I mean, they're, of including criminal into the civil, they have an interest to collect, they make money on it. There are many other counties that charge criminally at a certain day, Prince Edward's one of them.
Are you saying they're behaving in?
I'm just saying, no, I'm not. I'm just saying that they keep arguing very hard for us not to enforce our ordinances, but other counties are enforcing their ordinances within these timeframes without any problems. If the courts have a problem with it, like tax says, they wouldn't be enforcing it over there. So is there a way that we can have a discussion with them to see how they do it?
Our recommendations are that you follow taxes recommendation. With great zest
Tax
and
isn't the only
zeal, taking criminal
resource.
charges on people is not a good thing.
Tax is not the only
It's
resource
not a
that we
good
have
thing.
available at our
So
fingertips.
We will